All right. Well, we'd like to welcome everybody out here tonight. This is a VABVI webinar presentation. We're talking about hadleyhelps.org, and we have here with us Marc Arneson from Hadley Helps. He's going to tell us a little bit about some of the programs that are offered through Hadley and how they can help. And in particular, this little intimate group of people together here today are really interested in ways that we can help reduce social isolation for people that have vision loss, and what kind of resources are out there. And we're going to learn a lot about Hadley, and we're excited to have you, Marc. So welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. I appreciate the invitation. I Part of my job is to try and share with as many people as possible what kind of some of the stuff we're doing here at Hadley. So any opportunity I get to talk about Hadley, I appreciate. So thanks for letting me join you guys tonight. I I get once I get started talking about Hadley, it's hard to stop me talking about Hadley.
That's
So,
good. That's good.
so fair warning. Please just I don't know, mute me or I don't know, like or just jump in. If you have a question or something didn't make sense. I just like I said, once I get started, I'm like, you guys remember that Energizer Bunny commercial?
Boom,
Like,
boom, boom. Yeah.
like once you get started, you can't. It just doesn't stop. So anyway, um, maybe I can. Well, I can share a little bit about what I do here at Hadley. I've been here about 7 years, and a few different roles, but kind of what I'm doing right now is overseeing the kind of social emotional support that we're trying to offer for folks. We've got a lot of practical help, but we felt like perhaps we could be a little bit more helpful in offering, some assistance with some of the difficult emotions that come with vision loss as well. And so we wanted to see if there's areas that we could focus on to help with that. And I'm kind of in that area right now. It's my role at Hadley. But a lot of what I do is I get on the phone and I talk to a lot of people and I hear a lot of stories. And I try to bring those stories back to Hadley and then together as an organization, we try to figure out, is there something that we can do to help some of these challenges that we're hearing out there? And honestly, most of the time we get it wrong. I'm oftentimes going back and saying, okay, that didn't quite, make it. Where can we improve it? How can we do it better? And we've got this advisory panel. There's about 3,000 folks that are scattered throughout the country that we get to turn to and ask, their feedback on ideas, hear suggestions that they have, just kind of bounce ideas off them and things like that. So I'm really fortunate that I have a group that I can talk to that is willing to kind of be really open with me and help guide us in kind of what we're doing here at Hadley. So that's another part of my job is just to kind of sit and just chat with people too. Um, so maybe I can share. Do you mind if I share a little bit of a history of Hadley? I think it's kind of
Please.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've been around for a little while. I always joke because representing Hadley, I always say that now I'm 105 years old. So 1920 is when Hadley started. And I always, like I'm the oldest one in the room, I imagine. But I got beat one time when I was sharing that. This was maybe about 3 or 4 years ago. We were like 101 years old, and there was 100. I think she was a couple months older than me, like a little over. It was 101 plus months, and
That's awesome.
I know this young lady, and she was like, "Nope, I got you beat." But 1920, William Hadley, who is our founder, he um he got this whole thing started. He lost his vision when he was in his 50s, like 55, 56. He got sick. And I don't know entirely what the illness was, but it resulted in his vision loss. So he was fully sighted. He was a teacher in the Chicago public schools, and within a couple of days, he lost his complete sight, went totally blind. So he stepped away from teaching, a huge adjustment. And he stepped away from teaching at that point. He was in the Chicago public schools, lived in Winnetka, Illinois, where Hadley's still located. And his thing that he was passionate about, like what he loved to do more than anything, was read. Like books was his thing. And if you ever make it to Winnetka, if you ever want to come visit us, Hadley, we've got some pictures of William, and he's one of them's where he's just sitting in this library with rows and rows of books, and that was what he loved to do. But his, obviously his vision loss had a huge impact on what he was passionate about and what he loved to do. So he said decided he was going to learn Braille in order to keep reading, and he was going to use Braille to be able to continue to do what he loved to do. And I guess back in the 1920s, not a lot of people were teaching Braille, apparently. So he couldn't really find anybody to help him. So he decided to teach himself. and
Wow.
super impressive, right? He
Yeah.
was determined, he was motivated, and he taught himself Braille. And
Wow.
but he kind of journaled about, or he talked about how difficult that was, how challenging it was, and he didn't want anybody else to have to go through something like that. And so the story goes, it's kind of a fun little story, but his neighbor, who is also an ophthalmologist, Dr. Brown, they were out on a porch one night and they came up with this concept of Braille by mail. They were going to, develop a curriculum, develop instructions, assignments, just mail them out to the U.S. mail to anybody that wanted to learn Braille. And their first student was a woman in Kansas City. She said she wanted to give it a go. They sent her material. She'd complete the assignments, mail them back, they'd grade them, and send the next one. And it just kind of took off from there. And it turned into like we were doing academic courses, and like we would teach, people could come and they could not come. It was all done from a distance, but you could enroll in a, maybe psychology course, or you could enroll in a um, anatomy course, so biology. I mean, like literature, like we looked at a catalog of hundreds of these courses that you could enroll in, be assigned an instructor, and work along that instructor from a distance to complete this course. And we did that for years and years and years here at Hadley until we started to see the numbers really start to dwindle. Fewer and fewer enrollments in our courses. People that were enrolling in Braille, we saw huge drop-offs very early on in the process. And we just wondered if we were having the impact that we wanted to. Like, were we really being as helpful as we feel like we wanted to be? And again, with our advisory panel, it was so great because we had lots of ideas of things we wanted to do, but um, we didn't know if they were any good. And so we got to go to our advisory panel and be like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And it ended up just really talking to them about their experience at Hadley. And they gave us so much wonderful feedback. They talked about the tone, our brand tone and personality, and how it was very much one-sided, us kind of telling people what we thought they needed to know, which was super interesting. They thought the courses were nice. Like it's great to continue to challenge your mind and never stop learning and things like that. But man, they said, yeah, after 6 or 8 months, it's nice to walk away with being able to develop a business plan. But what I really need is help, like doing my laundry and help like going out to dinner and finding my way around a table, or going out for a walk with my husband and not being worried that I'm going to fall and hurt myself. It was all these kind of really practical day-to-day challenges that many people were facing. They were like, can you help us with this? And it's not only like, just help me with this, can you help me right now, like in this moment? Like, I'm facing this challenge right now. Is there any way you can help me overcome it right now too? Um, Technology was another thing that kept coming up over and over again. Like, I don't know what technology's out there. And then once I get it, not sure I know how to use it. I need to learn these things. Is a way that you can help me with this too. Um, so those day-to-day challenges kept coming up, understanding how to use the technology that's out there. But then the last piece, which I thought was really interesting, was being connected with others. We kept hearing it over and over again. Is there any way you can help connect me with others who are in a similar situation, going through something similar? Many people that I talked to, they were the only person that they knew who were blind or visually impaired. And they just felt like, my family's here, they're great, but it's so hard for me to explain everything and for them to understand. So really wanting to be connected with others was kind of a big component of the feedback that we were getting as well. So we kind of reinvented ourselves. We kind of started to retire some of the courses that we were offering and reintroduce a concept that we're calling workshops. And what they are, it was just, I don't, there wasn't a good word for them, so we called them workshop. I don't know if that's still the best word for them, but they're these kind of really targeted, really specific, pretty quick, 5 to 10 minute walkthroughs, step-by-step guides in a variety of different topic areas. So again, technology was something that kept coming up over and over again. So we wanted to see if there's a way that we could help folks understand what technology is out there. Once you get it, how do you use it? And then, and then what are some practical things that you can do with it? So we reached out to Apple and we said, hey, can we partner with you? And they were thrilled. And we talked to them and we kind of pitched this concept of, just helping folks understand all the wonderful features that you're building into your products. People who are new to vision loss, or maybe are getting, their vision is declining continuously, or whatever it might be. Like, can we help them understand what these features are? And then we want to walk step by step how to get to them and offer some practical uses for them. And they were thrilled and they loved it. And so we started with the iPhone, kind of worked our way through the iPad, the Apple TV, Apple Watch, these AirTags that are out there now, just walking folks step by step what the features are that are built into them, and then how to get to them and how to use them. So like maybe it's just a matter of adjusting the text size on your phone. Maybe that makes a big difference for you. Let's walk through step by step how to do that, or turning on dark mode, or the magnifier that's built into all these devices. Wonderful feature. Like, how do you get to it? What are some uses for it? Maybe adjusting the brightness, all these things that you can do with your phone that maybe helps you get around them a little bit better. Maybe you want to learn voiceover. Maybe, you're at a point where voiceover is going to be helpful. The built-in screen reader, for all Apple products. And so how do you turn it on and off? What are the different finger gestures you need to know to be able to navigate it? Going to the home button, notification center, the control center, all these pieces that you can do with voiceover, again, step by step, very targeted. And, for each feature, maybe 5 to 10 minute little segment and a step-by-step kind of walkthrough. Siri's a wonderful assistant, and you can use her to set alarms or get directions or reminders or make calls or texts. And so, again, we wanted to offer some suggestions on how you do that with Siri. So after working with Apple, we did the same thing with Google. We reached out to them and said, "Hey, this is what we've done with Apple. We'd love to do it for all Android users too." And again, they were thrilled. And so we created these little step-by-step guides, these workshops for all Android users as well. Maybe there's some low vision, things that you can just adjust on your phone, like again, contrast or text size or turning off animation and all these things that you can do that might be easier to just to get around your Android phone. Or TalkBack is very similar to VoiceOver. It's the Android kind of built-in screen reader. So, how do you turn it on and off? What are the finger gestures that you need to be able to learn to be able to kind of get around VoiceOver or TalkBack as well? Um, and then we did the same thing with Microsoft. So for folks that are using Windows operating system, we wanted to kind of do the similar things. How do you adjust it? Depending on your level of vision. What are some things that some minor adjustments that you can make that perhaps can make a big difference? Narrator is their built-in screen reader, so maybe that's something that you want to be able to learn how to use to get on your computer. Getting on websites, navigating websites, all these different things that you can do with your computer. We wanted to walk folks through how to do some of that stuff. So anywhere where we thought we could offer, a little bit of assistance, in helping folks understand, first of all, what technology is out there. And then once you get it, how do you learn how to use it? And we decided, we offered it. We kind of decided we're going to try and do it through this concept of what we call workshops, these step-by-step little tutorials in each one of these devices. And we've done some for different apps and things like that. We've got one for Zoom. We've got one for like, these smart devices like, Google Home and Alexa and stuff like that. And got one for like the digital talking book player. We actually just received a nice little grant to do workshops specifically for that Seeing AI app. I guess.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we've just launched those well, actually, I should say we launched them about 3 weeks ago, and then like the day after we launched them, they did a major update. So-
Yes, it was updated. I remember that. Yeah.
and so we brought them down, we switched them up, and then we relaunched them. But
Nice.
you guys sound like you're familiar with Seeing AI, the Seeing AI app. It's got
Right.
all these
Yeah.
really cool features, like can take a snapshot and read text back to you and stuff like that. I got
Hmm.
I got a funny story if you guys don't mind.
Go ahead.
There's the one of the women that I met, she was sharing with me this. She just learned about the Seeing AI app and she was thrilled. And she was one of the things she hated doing was going to the grocery store, and she just could never. It was just so frustrating. I could just never find the products I'm looking for. So she was excited to see if this would help with Seeing AI. She's going down the aisles, kind of pointing it at different items, and it's just reading it back to her. And she's like, she said she was just so happy and just it was just a joyous moment. Like she's finding her frosted flakes and she's finding her, and all these different things because it's just reading it back to her. And she said that she's a little hard of hearing, so she always keeps her phone turned up as loud as it'll go. And so she was going to be doing some baking and needed to find some butter. And so she's going through the dairy aisle and she's just scanning these items. And I guess it didn't read it completely because it got a little stuck and it just started reading salted butt. And it just kept
Really loudly.
It was. She said it was loud, but it got in a loop, I guess, because it just kept going salted butt, salted butt, salted butt. So she said she got all flustered. She took her phone and threw it in the cart and it started reading, "Don't leave child in the seat. Don't leave child in the seat."
That's funny. That's really funny.
Uh, yeah, looking back on it, she said that, she can laugh about it now, but in the moment she said she just grabbed her phone, was embarrassed, and walked out
Mm,
the
mm.
store.
Or you make some friends in the store.
That's
There you
right. That's
go,
right.
right?
It's a conversation starter,
It
right?
is a good, that certainly is, yes. But again, anywhere where we thought we could offer a little bit of a walkthrough on helping folks learn how to use some of this technology, we put it together in these workshops. And we use the same kind of concept for some of the day-to-day challenges that come with vision loss. One of the topic areas we call it daily living. And it's just really trying to help offer new ways to do some of the things that you've done your whole life that are now much more difficult with vision loss, like cooking or doing your laundry or finding things around the house or getting around unfamiliar spaces or going out to dinner, like these things that are much more challenging. We thought if we could offer just a suggestion, on ways to do it a little differently, that perhaps can make a big difference. And most of the time, it's not like, earth-shattering ideas. They're very simple perhaps, but you might not have thought of them, and it could help, really make a big difference. So like this cooking series, we've got workshops on like, how to pour liquids. Perhaps your coffee in the morning without spilling it and burning your hand and kind of making it a little bit of a mess. So maybe there's ways to do it a little bit differently. Using sharp knives in the kitchen or drying, measuring dry ingredients or wet ingredients if you're baking, and just ways to do it a little bit differently.
And
So
Mark,
anywhere,
if
oh
I
yeah,
could jump in for a second, just for anyone who hasn't seen these workshops, they're divided up into short segments, and so it's not like you're going to be in a 30-40 minute workshop.
right.
These are cut into like 5-6 minute little presentations that you're able to kind of digest a little bit before you move on to the next workshop that has another great well-rounded segment that's 5 or 6. I think the longest one I saw was like 9 minutes or something like that, if I remember right,
Some of
Mark.
the iPhone ones, I think
Yeah.
they got a little bit longer, like 9 to 10 minutes, I think. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was the idea, Daniel, was, just bite size,
Yeah.
easily digestible, and something that you can go back to over and over again,
Hmm.
and not have to commit your whole day to it kind of thing. Yeah. But we wanted it to be in the moment too. So, we want people to be able to access it whenever they wanted to and go back to it however many times they wanted to. And it's, the idea is that you're, not having to wait for the next appointment or invite somebody into your house, and things like that. But and a lot of what we're doing though is supplementing a lot of the work that's being done in person too. Like we have a lot of professionals that are ordering some of these workshops, prior to meeting in person with them, and so there's a little bit of a beginning there already, and so they can kind of work off some of the stuff that they're learning with our workshops. Um,
That's something that we just recently did with Hadley. We partnered with Hadley now, so
mm,
our teachers are actually able to help request some of these workshops for our clients that
yep,
we're working with to help supplement what we're doing, to maybe prepare in advance or to have homework afterwards. So
yep, yeah.
if people are interested in these things, we can help facilitate them connecting with you as well as them just going directly to you to get what they want as well.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, I don't know that nothing can really beat, one-on-one sit down help and instruction, but sometimes the teachers have to go home.
Yeah.
And so and so this could be, something that they leave behind that somebody can go back to and just refresh their memory when they need to and things like that.
Mhm.
Because we have it all available on our website. Like you said, you can go to our website and access it, but we do send all of our workshops off in large print, braille, or audio. And with audio, we're using the National Library's digital talking book player system. And so if you have one of those players, we can just send you a cartridge that works with it that has all the audio for one of our series. Like like there's like 5 or 6 workshops in our cooking series. All the audio for that will be on one cartridge for you, or like our labeling series, or home repairs, or women's personal care, men's personal care. There's just literally hundreds of these different workshops in these different areas. So, but yeah, we can
Do
just
they?
send that off to you too.
How long are they able to keep those cartridges for?
We don't ask them for them back.
That's what I thought. I just want to make sure. I didn't want to say
Yeah,
that
no,
before.
thanks for the yeah,
And you
yeah.
leave those for free, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah,
everything's free. But
yeah,
yeah, we our hope is that you can start to create your own little library, right? And again, you
yeah.
can go back to these whenever you want to, however often you want. So we just, yeah, feel free to keep everything that we send to you. Um
Well, the interesting thing about allowing people to keep the cartridges too is that often people learn of other people in their building who are visually impaired.
Yeah, right.
And, so they can share them if they have the player, and a lot of
Yep.
people, again, do have the talking book players, the able players.
Great
So,
point, Sharon. Yeah. And
yeah.
we're happy to order those for folks too. The players, like we do a lot of we fill out a lot of the forms, the request forms, and mail them
Mm.
into the libraries. And usually it takes about 3 or 4 weeks for the library to send a player. But we'll follow up after, maybe 2 or 3 weeks just to see if you got it, and then we can start sending the cartridges to you. So
That's great to hear. So they can sign up. But so here in Vermont, the local chapter is called the Able Library. That's the state of Vermont's
okay.
Department of Libraries that's connected to the National Library Service.
Hmm.
And so we sign up a lot of people for the Able Library, but you can as well. That's wonderful
Yeah.
to hear. So yeah.
Yeah, we've only had I mean, we've gotten approval, and there was only one. There was one guy in New Jersey, and it wasn't just. I mean, it was just one person, but he
Mm.
didn't like our titles, and so he gave us a little pushback. But otherwise,
Yeah.
I don't know what that was. But but yeah, we're happy to fill out the form, submit it on your behalf, so you get that player, and we can start getting you some more content.
That's
Absolutely.
great. That's great.
So the word there's 6 different topic areas. It's daily living, technology, working, recreation, braille, and then adjusting to vision loss.
Mhm.
So there's a variety of workshops that are scattered throughout those different topic areas. Um, it was funny though, when we launched our new website in 2020, we had 100 workshops, and we were like, we made it. We've arrived. And and then we got flooded with suggestions. We thought about this. What about this? This would be helpful. It's really cool actually. And then and so we've got a little over 600 now that are scattered throughout the site in these different topic areas.
Yeah.
So there's lots of opportunities to
Could,
learn. Yeah,
Mark,
go
could
ahead,
you
Jen.
repeat those 6 areas again? So you have daily living skills with a lot of the cooking and the pouring and the cutting and so on. And then you have technologies. I know you talked about a bunch of those. Then you said work, I think, right?
Yeah, so for folks that are employed and experiencing vision loss, we wanted to offer like suggestions on ways to talk to your employers about that, or adaptations to consider in the workplace so you can continue to be efficient at your job and things like that. So that's more of the content in that working series is remaining employed after vision loss.
Okay.
That's great.
Um, yeah, because those are some big questions for people, and sometimes they don't know to go to a local organization, for
Yeah,
something like that. Um, then I think you said adjustment to vision loss and Braille, and I thought there was a sixth
recreation.
Creation.
one,
Yeah, recreation.
recreation.
Just fun things to
Uh,
do. So there's like exercises, some that we talk about different ways to stay fit and active, adapting
Container
games.
gardening.
Container
Yeah.
gardening, yeah. There's
Yeah.
the most popular recreation, I think, workshop that we have is called bird songs.
Oh, that's a great one. I love that one. Yeah. Yeah.
oh,
Just kind of figuring out birds by their voices. But the adjusting to vision loss, we've actually because there's so many workshops out there now, we've created these little series for specific eye conditions. And so we've got one for macular degeneration, for glaucoma, for diabetic retinopathy, and what the idea behind these workshops was to help kind of guide you to some of the other workshops that we have that might be more helpful depending on your particular eye condition. And so we're hoping it's a little bit of a way to guide you through the site to find what's most helpful for you. So that's a piece of what's in the adjusting series. There's another one called just adjusting to vision loss is actually a series in that topic area too. And one of them is called Coming to Grips with Vision Loss, which we had somebody here at Hadley that was sharing his personal testimony with vision loss, and it's so interesting to hear how many folks connect to that story. Gosh, we get so much feedback like, wow, I don't feel as alone anymore.
Mhm.
Like somebody understands what I'm going through. Maybe there's some hope still, is what we hear. And just from that one workshop, we get so many, it's probably the one we get the most feedback on from folks who are just really connecting and relating to that story. Just really cool.
Mhm.
that's
Um,
great.
but the workshops were again one piece of what we were not, I mean, it's a big piece of what we were trying to do. But this connection piece, we wanted to make sure that we were trying to see if there's a way that we could figure this out. And we've got a couple of different ways that we're doing this now. Um, one of them is called discussion groups. I don't know if you guys are familiar, Daniel, or sharing with our
Mhm.
discussion groups. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so they're just Zoom calls. So if you, I mean, it's just like this, right? So you can
Yeah.
Yep.
you can join over your phone. You can join on your computer, call in. Zoom's got this feature that we purchased. It's called the call out feature. And so if you have a little bit of a tricky time, navigating your computer, getting online, or if you're dialing in, that access code has to be put in pretty quickly, or it kind of resets itself. It can be tricky.
Hmm.
But if you prefer, we can just call you from the meeting. So all you have to do is answer your phone, and you'll just be brought right into the meeting. You're brought into the waiting room, and then we'll get you right into the meeting. Um,
So
it's
how does a person register for that?
Just give us a call.
Give you a call.
Yep, just give us a call at the 800 number, and we'll get you signed up for what we call call outs.
Call outs.
And then at the beginning of we've managed to get a little bit of an automated system. So about 10 or 15 minutes before the meeting, we'll just push a button that says call,
Mhm.
and it just goes automatically calls everybody that's on that list. Like Tech It Out is one of our discussion groups. It's the most popular one. We've gotten over 200 people on that call. 150 is typically what we see each month, but probably at least half of them are being called into the meeting. And
Wow.
so we were doing it manually for a while, which got a little tricky. But now we've got this system where we can do it all at once. So it's not a problem at all. If you feel like that might be helpful, you call our 800 number, we'll get you signed up for it. And then, like I said, 10 or 15 minutes before the meeting, we'll give you a call. You just got to pick up the phone, which is kind of tricky too. It's not easy. I mean, it'll be a number you won't recognize, and I never pick up numbers I don't recognize. But um,
Keep an eye on the time, and if you know it's going to be right before
yeah,
that meeting,
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
And we can send
That,
you text alerts if you prefer. Also just to remind you that hey, it's 15 minutes before the meeting. If you're still able to join us, and then we call it get alerts, and that allows us to send you an email every time we schedule a meeting, so you know the topic and the time, and you can join directly from that email if you prefer. And then after each meeting, we'll send you another email with a link to the recording.
Mm.
So
nice.
if you missed it, you weren't able to join us at the time, or you just want to go back and listen to it again, you'll have that link that you can hold on to.
That's
Oh,
handy.
yeah, but it's Tech It Out. Like there's 10 of them. We've got a cooking one called What's Cooking. We've got a Braille group called Embracing Braille. We've got an exercise group called Get Up and Go. Travel Talk is kind of just all about navigating public transportation, getting around town. There's a book club called Book Nook. There's a writer's circle for people sharing, short stories, poetry, things like that. Um, Crafting circle is, you know, I always share. I've sat in on this meeting a few times that I'm convinced I don't have that bone in my body, the sewing, the knitting, painting, and things like that. I'm just so not good
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah.
But I know lots of people are. So if you enjoy that, and you want to get what hits, we got our crafting circle.
So,
Read.
so
Oh,
on that note, because that's one we get a lot of requests for.
oh,
So, regardless of what your craft is, whether it's painting,
yeah.
sewing, you can join that group, and people would help give you ideas of how to adapt what you're trying to
Yep.
do. All
Yeah,
right.
that's exactly right, Daniel. And they'll
Nice.
they'll rotate the topics, each
Hmm.
month. And so, if you get an alerts, you can see, it's about painting this month. I mean, might want to join. I'll wait till the sewing or
Yeah.
something like that, whatever it might be. But
Gotcha.
but it is, yeah, it's just kind of figuring out how do I adapt this to my vision loss and continue to do what I love to do. So
All right.
it's
Nice.
yeah. Um, there are people that like that crafting, isn't there? I think there
Oh
are.
yeah, yeah. Huge demand. Yeah.
Definitely.
What about gardening? Do you guys we got a
we
gardening group too.
we do have a lot of interest in gardening. Actually, I just ran a group 2 weeks ago about container gardening. I did draw from the resources that Hadley offered
Oh,
to help in
nice.
doing that, and then we kind of did all hands-on for that. But I think that there's interest statewide, and so that would definitely be one that people would like to probably join into to participate in.
Yeah, it's a little bit of, I think we get about maybe 30, 35 people on that call each month.
Mm.
Um, but I've actually joined that one too. I think it's just fascinating because it's across the country, right? Mostly, and there's some people from Canada too and things like that. But it's so there's so many different, soils that they're dealing with, insects that they're dealing with, the weather that they're, so
Climates and yeah.
yeah, climates and stuff like that. So it's really interesting to hear how everybody's sharing what they're kind of dealing with when they're gardening. It's fun.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
here in Vermont, it's starting to get to be gardening season, so
is
people are
it?
getting the bug here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I've never been. I had some close friends of ours that moved to Vermont for a few years when their daughter when their granddaughter was born. And gosh, they had a hard time coming back here, but they said it was just gorgeous.
Oh yeah. So, if you can get through the winter, it's and
If
then
you
through
can
the
get through the
mud,
winter.
yeah, if you get through the winter and the mud season, it really gets beautiful right after that. So,
Um, so I do want to share a little bit about some of the other ways that we're connecting folks, if that's okay.
please,
I think
yes.
we talked about our peer-to-peer program. So this was interesting. We started this as a mentor program, and the whole idea is that we were going to identify, maybe a handful or a dozen or so, I don't know, folks that we felt could serve in this mentor role, and we wanted to kind of train them and kind of prepare them to introduce them to mentees. Um, and so once we kind of got this program rolling and off the ground, we identified our mentors, and then we introduced them to folks who were maybe new to vision loss and were trying to figure some things out and felt like they could use some advice about things. And it quickly, we within a few weeks recognized that this was not a one over another relationship. This was clearly more of a I'm here to support each other. Bill was one of the original guys that we reached out to, and he said, it's like, I feel a little intimidated being called a mentor because I feel like I'm getting as much out of this relationship as I'm giving to this relationship. He's like, I don't know if is there anybody else saying that? And the guy he was connected to, Greg, he called me and he's like, is it okay if I suggest things to Bill too? I mean, I don't know if that's my role. Is that all right?
Yeah, yeah.
And we just, and it quickly became friendships. And as we started to hear about people and their relationships, it was, we didn't always talk about it. Some of the conversations had nothing to do with vision loss. It was just having somebody that, when they mentioned something, understood and got it. And they knew that that person understood and got it. And if they needed the support, they know that they could turn to that person for it. Like one of the women we connected, this Angela, she was with this woman Debbie, and honestly, I'm not sure how the connection was made because she was like, we don't have much in common at all, is what Angela said about Debbie. I think Angela is in Pennsylvania, Debbie's in Texas, and but I guess Angela was saying that her husband was dealing with he was ill and he couldn't drive at this point. I guess he was in bed, had to be staying in bed. But her mother had come down with a pretty bad illness, was in the hospital. So Angela's mother was in the hospital, and she had never taken public transportation. She relied on her husband to kind of get her around, and he couldn't do it this time. But she was like, I gotta figure out how to get to my mom, but I'm terrified about using the train in the system, this train system. So she called Debbie, and Debbie said, here's what you're gonna do. She's like, you're gonna grab your purse, you're gonna walk out the door, you're gonna get on that train, and you're gonna go see your mom in the hospital. And she was like, okay, I guess that's what I'm doing. And she did, and it was fine. And she was like, I needed somebody just to push me a little bit, give me a nudge, and say everything's gonna be okay. So it's not always like, rainbows and puppy dogs. Sometimes it's like, I'm gonna give you a little nudge here, kind of thing, which is what she needed. But it's interesting. So the way the program works is we would I think I talked to Lois a little bit, but we would want to get to know you a little bit. We've kind of identified maybe a dozen or so connection points that seem to make a big difference when kind of kicking off this relationship. So through the pilot program that we went through and through some of our initial relationships we saw and then conversations we've had with people, we've identified like I said, maybe about a dozen that seem pretty significant when it comes to connection points. And so those are the kinds of things we'll get to know. Like what is your eye condition? What is your level of vision? What are your hobbies and interests? Even like, if you're retired, what did you do for a living? What are your life circumstances? Are you, living with anybody else? Do you have kids? Like all these different pieces. And then we'll try to connect you with somebody who has some things in common. And hopefully, those commonalities will kind of kickstart that relationship. But it's crazy. I mean, some of the things that we hear from folks after we've connected them, like we'd have no like there's these two women we connected. They turns out both their grandparents lived in the same small town in Italy and both came to the US at the same time. Like
Oh, that's
Oh my
wild.
just
goodness.
weird.
That is wild.
It is one of one of these two gentlemen that we connected, we didn't know it, but they both served in the military in the same branch. I don't remember which one it was, but after serving in the military, they both ended up their careers at UPS,
Oh,
and now
wow.
they both like have the same number of kids, and they're like, it was just like they call us and share like, did you guys know this stuff? We're like, yeah, of course we knew this. No, we didn't know this.
We planned it.
Right,
That's right.
exactly.
That's right. That's
Um,
awesome.
but like I said, it feels like we're people are staying connected. They're finding the relationships helpful, and I think it's there's this woman Sharon that I met, and every time I think of the peer-to-peer program, I remember her because this was early on in our peer-to-peer program. I was talking with her about something entirely different, and she said, Mark, I live in the same house as my husband. Um, we've got grown kids. She lived in Indianapolis. We've got grown kids that kind of visit, frequently. They live locally, so they're always coming home and visiting. And there's grandkids running around the house. And she's like, I have friends that I call and talk to. She's like, but with all these people in my life, I've never felt so alone.
Mm.
And she was kind of new to vision loss, and she's just like, as my vision continues to decline, I try to talk to my husband about it, but he doesn't get it. I love him, he's great, but he doesn't get this piece, and I have a hard time talking to him about it. She's like, if he could just connect, if I could just have somebody I could turn to. And so we connected her in our peer-to-peer program, and I spoke with her a couple months after that, and she's like, this was the missing piece for me. This is what I needed, which I thought was kind of cool.
Nice.
Like I said, there's about
Awesome.
600 in the program now, so it's continuing to grow. And we're doing our best to kind of connect folks with one another.
And if somebody's interested in participating in that, they just need to call Hadley
Yep.
and say they're interested in the peer-to-peer program.
Yeah, and what we've done, so maybe I can share a little bit about this too. So the 800 number, if you call our 800 number, there's 6 gals right now that are answering the phones. It's Anna, Georgette, Carla, Isabel, Christy, and Ellen. So those are the 6 gals answering the phone, and we've intentionally made a shift into what we're calling our center for support. And what we've done is we've recognized that many of the people calling, um, they this might be the first person they've talked to about their vision loss, and some of these conversations can be very emotional and difficult. It's hard to sometimes make that first call and to reach out for help. And so we wanted people on the other end of the phone, on our end of the phone, that were able to kind of be in the moment in those situations. And then we're doing a lot of getting to know people. So we're having a lot of conversations about, your life, and we're trying to get you connected in these different areas. And so we're staffing our 800 number with social workers and counselors. So they're kind of masters level social workers and counselors, because we wanted somebody that could really respond with empathy, with compassion and understanding, and kind of be in the moment as a listening ear for folks too. Um,
Yeah.
so that's a little bit of a shift that we've made in that team. But the other piece that we've recognized, and again, I tell these stories. I know we're running out of time here, Daniel, but
No problem.
I was at a conference, Foundation Fighting Blindness. I was at a conference, and this woman, they were doing a Q&A at the end of one of the sessions, and this woman's her husband's doctor was one of the panel speakers, and she stood up and she said, you've done a lot for my husband. We are so appreciative, but she's like, I got to tell you, for a few days leading up to every appointment, he's a mess. Like he's just anxious. He's, because he's worried about this appointment, and because inevitably every time we leave, it's bad news. And she said, and then for weeks afterwards, he just goes into this depression, and it affects the whole family. She's like, and
Uh,
she's like, we've asked you and we've asked your staff every time we've left these appointments for some sort of direction with mental health services. She's like, and not once have you ever given us anything.
Mm.
And he was felt really bad. And he was just like, I'm so sorry. I don't know what to tell you or where to send you. And it just was a reminder, like there's a lot of people trying to figure it out on their own. And there's not oftentimes a lot of places to turn. And one of the things we wanted to do here at Hadley was we wanted to see if there's a way that we could help folks kind of just be able to, I don't know, sit with some of these really difficult emotions that can come with vision loss. We created this group called Adjusting and Coping Together. And the whole idea behind this was to be more of a traditional support group. So for folks that feel like they might benefit from spending time with others, again, going through something similar, and really sit down in a safe space and talk about some of these difficult emotions, we wanted to be able to see if we could offer something like that. So we call it Adjusting and Coping Together. It's what you have to do is you have to commit to 8 weeks. So there's 8 sessions, and we're going to meet once a week for an hour and a half each week. And then we're going to talk each week about a topic related to vision loss. Like I don't remember one of the weeks is called giving up the car keys. And so we're just going to talk about grief and loss that's associated with vision loss. Another one's called feeling like a burden. And so it's this idea of like, being independent your whole life and now having to turn to people for help and how challenging and difficult that can be sometimes. Isolation and loneliness we talk about. Anger, there's one that's called just things that set me off. Triggers that, there's something that just happens in the middle of the day that just can set a tone for the rest of the day in dealing with anger and frustration. Another one's called like, does vision loss define me? And so it's this idea is like, when I look in the mirror, is that all I see anymore? Or when people see me, is that what they recognize? I mean, I'm so much more than just my vision loss. And so helping folks understand that and kind of talk about that too. Um, so it's relatively new to us. We have four groups that are running right now. We're in our third week. Tomorrow we'll start our third week. So there's about 60 people that are going through the groups right now. It's about 10 to 15 people per group. And then we did a pilot group, and then we did a kind of a kickstart group, and we've learned a ton. And so I think we're kind of getting there a little bit, but we've had about 8 groups go complete. And again, 4 of those are going right now.
Nice.
So we're seeing some interest in it, and we're getting, feedback, from after each group seems to be that they're really finding connection with each other and finding it helpful to be able to kind of express some of the things that they didn't have an opportunity to express. So,
Is there a kind of a window for the next group starting, or is that something that you can jump into
great
at any
question.
point?
No, it's a great question. And we're learning as we're kind of going along here. I don't know, we didn't know what kind of interest there would be in it, Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now it looks like we're averaging about 15 people per month are coming to us. We're doing a little bit of a screening.
Mm-hmm.
Christy is kind of taking the lead on that, and she'll just get to know you a little bit, because I think there's things that we recognize might be helpful in forming the groups,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's age or eye conditions or whatever it might be. So she's doing about 15 screenings a month right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we run it for 8 weeks and then take, a few weeks off in between each one. So the goal was to kickstart a series of groups 4 times a year.
4 times a
Uh,
year. Okay.
yeah. And so again, right now, we'll see how that goes or what the
Mm-hmm.
interest looks like. But that was kind of the idea, is seasonally
And
we kickstart a group off and then
the
see how
name of that group
keep going.
again?
It's called Adjusting and Coping Together.
Adjusting and coping together. Okay.
Yeah. And the idea is to walk away with some coping skills as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting. We've got some thoughts and ideas that might be helpful, but it's really cool just to see everybody kind of contribute to one another. It's just like, I was in a situation just like this, and this is what helped me through it, kind of thing. And it'd be like, oh gosh, that's great to hear, So it's more of a group setting. So people are kind of really helping one another and supporting each other in it, as opposed to us kind of doing much. They kind of sit and facilitate things, but it's really the group just, helping each other.
And this is being facilitated by a social worker or a counselor, right? Is what you said?
Yep. Yeah. So right now we have Isabel.
Mm-hmm.
She's a licensed social worker.
Yeah.
And then Christy is a licensed clinical practitioner. I think that's like LCP, so she's a
LCP.
counselor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So those are the 2 that are facilitating the groups right now. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Nice. And just to be clear, all your groups, including these ones that the adjusting and coping together groups that you want to run, 4 times a year, they're free of charge for
Everything's
people,
free.
right?
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Everything we do here at Hadley is free. And I love being able to say that. On our website, there's a little bit of a sign up process. But there's just a few questions that we ask, like name, first and last name, how'd you hear about us? But there's another question: what's your relation to vision loss? Um, that's a question that's kind of important for us, because if we can show a certain number of people that are using our services are visually impaired themselves, it opens up funding for us, so we can apply for different grants and things like that. I wish we didn't have to have like a sign up process on the website, but that question really does help us, apply for different funding, which then allows us to keep everything free. So yeah, no cost for any of our service, whether it's what you're accessing on our website, joining any of our groups, getting things sent in the mail to you, it's all free. Yeah.
So people would go to Hadley Helps, HADLEYHELPS.org
Yep.
to sign up. Likewise, if anybody who's watching this later on as a YouTube video If you struggle with getting to the website and that kind of stuff, you can talk to one of us here at VABVI, and we actually have a portal partnership with them where we can share your email and phone number, and that'll be sent directly to Hadley, and then you'll get an email from them that you can follow that would help you to get signed up, or they'll give you a phone call.
Yep.
And so there's no wrong door to get to Hadley, either us or Hadley Direct, and we can help connect you to these special things.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, yeah, just get our phone number. You can give us a call. I'm glad you got connected with that partner portal.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Do you mind saying the 800 number out loud?
Oh, yeah,
Do you
yeah,
have it? Yeah.
Yep, yeah, it's 1-800-323-4238. So it's 800-323-4238.
Excellent.
Have you guys, and I know that we're wrapping it up here, but have you guys had a chance to listen to our podcast at all as well?
Oh, please, yeah, tell us about the podcast. I love your podcast, but please tell everybody about those.
Yeah, so well, there's two. One of them is called Hadley Presents, which is more of a traditional podcast. Like it's about a half an hour long, and we're interviewing people, we're recording it, editing it, and then kind of putting it out to the world to listen. So there's some professionals talking about what they're doing in the field and research and things like that, but there's a lot of just personal stories too. People just kind of sharing their experience and story with Visualize. So it's there's a little bit of a variety of some of our members as well as different professionals. There's another one though that's called Insights and Sound Bites, and this one is it's a little bit different. They're pretty quick. They're like maybe I don't know 3 to 5 minutes, 7 minutes long, something like that. But it's just people sharing their stories. And it's really cool how people are being so open and vulnerable about their stories in these episodes. And we're just throwing the question out there. When things are a little bit more challenging, when things you're having a little bit of a difficult moment, what is it that helps get you through that? Like in those challenging times, what is it or who is it that helps get you through that? And so people are calling and talking about these, difficult moments, and then what they were able to do to get through these moments, and or who helped them get through these moments. And there's about maybe I don't know, is it 50 or 60 episodes out there now? And I had a woman I was talking to a few months ago. She said, Mark, every time I get a little bit down, I go to this one episode, and I think it's like 37. I don't know, maybe it's not. Maybe I'm remembering that wrong. But she's like, I've listened to it about 50 different times. she's like, I connect to it, and it lifts my spirits, and we're getting just a lot of people sharing about that. But I say that partly because I think it's nice to hear other people's stories, and I think you can really find hope in seeing how they came through these difficult moments. But if anybody wants to share their story with us as well, we're all ears. So you can record something directly from our website. You can send us a recording. There's a phone number you can call and leave a message. But truthfully, what I love doing is just getting on the phone with people. I'll just sit on the phone for like a half an hour or so, just getting to know your story, hearing what you want to share, and then we'll take that and just edit it down and try to get it out there as an episode too. So you can just give me a call. We can get you on there as well. But yeah, those are really cool stories if you had a chance to listen to them.
And if someone was interested in talking to you and doing that, I'm assuming they can call the 800 number and
Yes,
ask for you, and they would connect
Yep.
you up with them, right? Yeah.
Yep. I'm the only Mark here at Hadley, so they track me down pretty easily.
Excellent. I love those podcasts. I listen to them too, and a lot of my clients listen to them, and they've been great discussion starters for some of the groups that we have as well.
Nice,
we listen to some of the
nice.
sound bites and then have a talk about the sound bites. So it's been great.
Great. Oh, good. Oh, that's great to hear.
Nice.
Lois, did you have any questions for Mark before we wrap things up from what you've been
No,
hearing?
he's covered things very, very well, and I will call. And the podcast and the sound bites, I do a lot.
Oh, you listen to those, Lois?
Oh, you're very helpful. Very,
Oh, nice.
yeah. It's like, I mean, almost I can say edifying. Some of them. Yeah.
That's a good way of phrasing it.
That is a nice way to phrase it. Yes.
Well, Mark, thank you for your time. We're gonna upload this to our YouTube channel, and one more time, why don't you say that 800 number and the website, just so if anybody didn't write it down before.
Yep. Yeah. So you can give us a call. We're at Central Time. It's Illinois, so it's 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central Time. But it's 1-800-323-4238 is our 800 number. And then the website is Hadley, Hadley, and then helps with an S, HELPS. So HADLEYHELPS.org.
Excellent. Thank you for your time, Mark.